I add what's been tabled to every set of minutes to remind myself to go back to it eventually. I'm not trying to badger anybody, okay? Yeah.
So the first we're gonna do is the evaluation?
I would like to get that
Okay, I have no problem with that.
forwarded for the next board
Okay,
meeting.
But I do have a question on it.
Yep.
Okay, on the superintendent's evaluation, if you look at the third paragraph, evaluation results submitted to the chair, who will then synthesize the result before presenting them to the superintendent. But if you go to page 29 of evaluation superintendent of schools,
Yep.
on the second paragraph it says, okay, so the chair now synthesizes them, right?
Right.
Goes over to the superintendent. I just wanna know the difference, because it says the board will then convene a non-public
Non-public,
discussion
yes.
to discuss assessment and prepare a composite evaluation.
Right.
Well, what's the difference between a synthesized and composite evaluation?
I don't think there is any difference.
Well, then, you're redundant here. I don't care which way you wanna go it, but you want the chairman to synthesize it, or do you want the board to put a composite?
I want you to synthesize.
Okay,
the-
so then why do we have the board in convening non-public assessment to prepare a composite evaluation? If that's the same
Did we
thing.
scratch that last year?
I
That's
thought
what I
that was
thought.
up to you to synthesize.
And then that's
explain your
fine, but
methodology.
either we gotta scratch one of these out.
I understand.
Because I was under the impression last year we scratched that one because of that.
P, which page were you on again?
Well, I'm on page 29 of the superintendent's evaluation, I think it is.
It's CBI-R, I believe,
Yeah, I believe so. CBIR.
the very last.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it is incongruent, so we could just say to discuss the assessment and just strike out, prepare a composite evaluation, because it's already
If you
been
want the
done.
board to do it, I don't care. I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
it-
not an addition, I think it's just something that we didn't
Okay.
take out that we should have.
We should have.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
are you talking about the evaluation or modifying this one or the policy?
Well, if it's CBR, you can just say the board will
CBI.
be in non-public to discuss the assessment.
period.
Okay, the composite, okay, assess the assessment, period, okay? And prepare a composite evaluation. Okay, and then just take that whole sentence out, right?
So can you cross it off on my copy? Because my pages aren't aligning with yours, just go ahead and,
I think it's right here.
Well, the question
Yeah.
is, do we also wanna have the board and the superintendent will each retain a copy of the written evaluation?
No.
Because it says over here, the evaluation is to the chairman, synthesizes that all individual evaluation be kept confidential. I don't know if you wanna do that. Okay, I've got a red one if you want.
It's okay.
I just wanna know how far you wanna have the board and the superintendent will each retain a copy. I mean, there'll be a copy in his personnel file, I don't know if you wanna.
Yeah, I don't think that board members should retain a copy.
I don't
Oh, no, the board members won't,
Yeah,
it
I
says
don't
the
even think the
board,
board should either.
yeah.
I assume it'd be a,
why not the district? Because there'll be one on,
it'll be in everybody's personnel file, I don't care
Right.
one way or the other. But you could construe this to mean that the board members will, or that the board will.
well, I like just having districts, and it's gonna be somewhere in the district office, I
Yeah,
assume.
it is, okay, so,
But board members don't
But
need a copy.
to be clear, it'll be in my personnel, or the superintendent's. I try to look at this like, as if it was for anybody,
yeah.
not just
yeah,
me,
yeah,
so.
that's what we
But that's
it
why I
would
was
be
wanting
the-
to
yeah,
just take
yeah.
this out, because it's gonna be in his personnel file anyway.
Right, exactly.
So
only
you wanna
this-
just strike that entire sentence?
I would take out that sentence also, because the only way you can get into this, if I remember correctly, is the chair, or the vice chair in the absence of the
Right.
chair, the
That's
only
right.
ones who can get into it and open it up and look at it.
That's right.
Okay.
Theoretically, the board could in non-public.
Well, that's a question,
It is a
because they would
question.
go to the chair, and if the chair says, I'm not opening it, what do you do then, right? I don't know, I mean, it'd be stupid.
Yeah, kind of like a what you can do and what you should do type of thing.
What were the changes that were made from last year to this year? Because that, I couldn't find any changes.
The changes in
the-
which one, Larry, in the policy?
In the policy and also in the, I don't like the way this is written, I'll be
What's
honest
that?
with you, the whole thing. Because it's
CBI.
more like it more, it sounds like a examination or an evaluation of the whole district, not the superintendent. And it kind of bothers me, something is not sitting right.
Well, I have one, I'm wondering why, see where it's lined out, the board will evaluate the superintendent based on written criteria as established by the board, right? Coextensive with the superintendent evaluation, the board and superintendent will jointly establish annual goals and objectives. The board believes, okay, you got that. I'm wondering why that was taken out.
I did that, these are my changes, my proposed changes.
Okay, well,
I
that
didn't-
confuses.
I didn't strike it, I moved it down below the criteria for performance, 1 through 10. So,
Okay,
if
in
you
the
look on the
future,
next
could you,
page of
could you
yours-
show that you're striking it out? Only
Right.
because I didn't know where the strikeout came from.
right.
Oh,
well,
right, you might have thought it was me.
I was
Or
just,
I
someone
thought it
else.
was
Yeah.
God knows
I had
what.
no idea
Yeah,
who
okay.
did
Yeah,
this.
That makes
it
sense.
didn't, I
I
didn't
did
wonder
that. That
why,
was
I
completely
mean,
my-
I didn't wonder who, I just wondered why.
Yeah, okay.
right.
Okay.
Well, the problem is the procedure for evaluating the superintendent doesn't indicate the goals, the written criteria annually we would use to evaluate the superintendent.
But it does, we went over this before, it's my
Right.
job description.
Right, and
That's the
so,
written
That is
criteria.
the only thing that you should be evaluating.
I just,
Right.
my concern with this whole thing, I'm just gonna be really, because just to
Yeah,
get
no.
this moved forward, I'm fine with the way this already was. I don't
Okay.
have a problem, like, I would just leave it alone, it worked fine last
Right.
year. I wanna
If
be.
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly, and what my point with this is that, and as I said to Pam, and I'm not saying anything I haven't told her directly, before the personnel committee had this conversation, the board's goals are not the superintendent's goals.
That is correct.
Those are the board's goals.
Right.
The
How
superintendent's
is this the
goals,
board's goal?
I set this up very carefully so that the superintendent's goals are evaluated individually with merit pay. And that's a separate process.
I understand that.
So that feedback would be explicit about those goals. This evaluation document is supposed to be an annual assessment of, did I do my job description?
Right.
Did I do the things that superintendents need to do? Is there some spots that maybe, usually you,
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah, or that I did-
No, I'm not sure about that, Tom.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead,
gonna tell you
Pete.
why. Because goals change, job description doesn't necessarily change.
right,
So, to put in evaluation, I think you need to go over the superintendent's evaluation and goal setting every year.
Yes.
Because as you attain a goal, you're not gonna put the goal back in. Whereas your job description wouldn't necessarily change as much.
oh no, we're saying the same thing.
We're saying the same thing.
We're saying the same
I
thing.
agree with Tom here, because essentially the goal is changing every year.
And it's
And
Right,
evaluated,
that's why
That's why I have a problem with this.
so this is a living, no, I say other, because so is the superintendent's evaluation, but this is a breathing document versus a living document.
no, I understand, yeah, I agree with you,
So I guess I'm in Pam's side on this.
but I'm not saying that Pam's
We're
wrong,
not
I
saying
think,
in Pam's side, I see Pam's
I
point.
think, what I'm trying to say is that the way I envision this, and tell me if, because it doesn't really matter as long as I know what I'm
Right.
shooting for. But the superintendent's goals, I wanted to be explicit and tied to merit pay, and
Yes.
evaluated
Yeah.
individually, annually, and set annually.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
yeah,
process.
Yeah,
And then, and the criteria for evaluating that would change annually because the goals would change.
right.
But the superintendent's evaluation is did I do the things that I'm supposed to do each year in the job description? So I agree
And
with
the
you,
goals
Pete.
are part of that job description.
Absolutely,
Okay, now,
absolutely.
So you're including these.
I am, yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
symbiotic, the whole thing.
The way
No,
I
I
look
get
at
that.
Okay, I had a feeling we were saying the same thing.
The way I look at it is, the evaluation is a year-to-year write-up on how did you improve from last year? Are you still improving, or are you stagnant?
Yeah,
And that's the rules that I was always taught to go by.
Which is part of his job description.
That's
that
right.
is,
Therefore,
exactly.
this is inclusive in your job description.
Exactly.
That's right.
No, okay. You
Exactly.
see where I'm coming from, Pam?
The only ambiguity is the RSA, for this policy, is referenced Ed Code 303.01K. that written criteria will be established by the board. It doesn't say in accordance with the powers and authorities of a superintendent of
Right, right,
schools.
right.
So we can customize the criteria. See, that's where I'm getting confused.
You wanna be really careful with that, because you can't change the target all the time on someone. So
But
like,
that's
I
what
can,
we're
I can,
That's why I said that you.
the job
always gotta
description
use
is the
job
written
description.
criteria. The job
That is the
description is the
criteria.
written criteria.
Yes, and if
And
you
you can
don't,
change that
if you
through the
don't
policy
attain these
process.
goals, if you don't attain these goals, right, then you're not doing your job description.
That's correct.
Or- I can't
See,
imagine
so
how the.
these are in the job,
Yeah, like the whole idea
I
of the
wish you
merit-
weren't all inclusive like that, because to me, it gets a little muddied, but I
It's very
see what we're saying.
Well, for me, the
This isn't ex-
evaluation form is the criteria. It outlines the qualities we're looking for.
But that's only for 1
It-
year.
But
I
it is a
know, I understand,
criteria
it is.
plus, I guess what I'm saying, he's got a job description, right? Okay, this is part of his job description. If, we're kind of separating as his goals and job description. No, his goals are in his job description. He doesn't attain these goals, he has not fulfilled his job description, and therefore, he can get gigged for it.
See, you can. It-
Rather than separate, oh, I did my job description, yeah, but you didn't do these, but that doesn't matter, my job description, I
Well-
should get paid, I'm not saying, you know,
Yeah.
I should get paid, not you, some other superintendent.
I know.
No, this
No,
is
I'm
part
not.
of your job
Yeah.
description, you didn't do this, so.
Right.
I see where you kinda wanna bifurcate them,
But they're
But-
really allowing for localized, customized description of written criteria. When it says the board will define the written criteria, it means
You
the
have
local
to
school
be-
board,
I
which is
agree
like
with you,
our
but can
board.
you see?
You have to be careful with this, and I'm gonna say.
Can you see the argument? I did what I did the job description, I should get paid, but you didn't do this, but I did the job description. If this is part of the job description, that argument goes
Right,
away.
yeah. Well, I'm
other-
just thinking the form needs to be approved the year prior to the
Yeah.
actual, and what we're doing is we're passing a form for last year's work, and I don't think it's fair to Tom.
No, oh, thanks, I appreciate
I
that,
mean,
that's true
That's one of
too.
my concerns. My
Yeah.
other concern is, what do we mean by criteria? Is it just what's in the RSAs, or does it include board goals we've outlined for the year?
Not good
Pam,
ones, it's
Pam, I think
technical.
the easiest way to look at that,
No,
if you had to take this into court
Yeah, that's the
and
way I'm looking
defend
at
it,
it.
can you defend what you just said? I would say no, because the courts are gonna look at it as what, the big picture,
but the
not
RSA
a narrow
reads
one.
that
We're
the
looking,
superintendent, the evaluation will be based on, quote, written criteria established by the
I think
board.
that,
That's
She
what we've
gets-
got right here.
Pam, hold on,
Right.
hold on.
Right,
Pam,
But
I-
it's part of his job description.
But Pam, where
Okay.
where you get stuck is that,
Yeah.
and this is the hard part about this. The written criteria is my job description. That is my job, that's what
Right.
I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
The goals I set up in my contract, which isn't even a part of any policy, and shouldn't be,
No.
because I negotiated that,
Right.
is money above and beyond
That's right.
the normal
Well, it
course of
has to
work.
be, otherwise we wouldn't pay you extra for it. It would be in your
Exactly,
job description.
so like I'm planning to propose to the board,
Well, that's
that,
why I bring in the board goals as part of the written criteria.
Right, but Pam,
That
those
has
are
nothing to do with
my
any
goals.
bonuses or
So you
anything.
gotta be
Those are
careful,
my
board
goals.
goals,
you can't
superintendent
hold
goals.
him responsible for what we're supposed to do.
If we don't do our job, you're
the
gonna
board
gig him.
goals are the board's goals. Mine might be related, but they can't be the same. You guys have to have goals.
So you're our only employee, so therefore, our goals are your goals. That's my
No,
attitude.
No,
That's not true at all.
No,
What you're saying is, if the board doesn't attain 2 or 3 of its goals,
Right.
we're gonna gig him.
Pam,
What
No,
if, what if, what
we're
if
the
I,
ones that didn't do
what if,
it.
what if I
Right.
said to the board, I need X, Y, and Z to meet this
Right.
goal, and you said no?
Pam, I can tell you.
But even if we don't, we set up 5 goals, we don't hit 3 of them,
Well, the goals
we
are
punish
formed,
you.
the
It's not my
board
fault,
goals
yeah.
are formed in consultation with the superintendent.
That's
presumably,
fine, but they're the
so-
board's goals.
Right.
So you're gonna punish him because the board didn't have time to attain 3 of their
Right,
goals.
and I did follow up with
We
legal
got
counsel
busy,
about
there was,
this.
something
Well,
happened.
I
need to
mean,
be
it's-
separate.
It would be nice if
discussion
they
separate.
were, if he was supporting the goals of the board.
Oh, he
And,
better be.
And obviously,
that would
if
be
we
a
don't
problem.
meet our own goals, there are good reasons for it, maybe resources or whatnot.
But if you
And
make
that would
them-
not cause us to ding
But
your
if you make that
evaluation
part-
But
form.
if
Right,
you
but
make
that-
them
but
part
if
of
you
his
make it part
goals,
of- yeah.
and they're not attained,
right,
you've gotta look at future boards too.
right,
You get the board later on says, oh, see these three goals? You didn't attain them. Well, no, those are board goals. But they're part of your goals too, and you didn't attain them, we're gonna gig you.
Right.
We wouldn't do that, but what about
Down the road.
Charlie and Harry and?
I remain confused about, we're paying you for specific outcomes, and then you have your own goals, which you could get a bonus for. And I'm just wondering, are there any goals to be embedded in?
That's the way any major
performance.
company does.
That
To
we-
me,
CEOs
it would
all
be
do it
part
that
of the
way.
evaluation.
In
Pam, if I'm
conference,
not-
we set his goals. If you wanna make also, here's a school board goal, but we also wanna make sure he attains that goal too, that's fine,
It
put
could be
them
the
both
same
in.
thing, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Right.
point, the point that I'm trying to make, Pam, and what the real bottom line of this is this. If I'm not doing the job, not me, but
Right.
someone else,
Right.
you need to be able to say to them, you're not doing the job.
Right.
And I've provided, let's say I go somewhere else someday, right? And then I'm not saying that I am, because one time I scared Pam when I said that, and I
You
wasn't.
did.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean it like that. I'm not going anywhere. I have no interest, but I'm just saying, let's say someday
Right,
I go somewhere else, or I become the commissioner of education or something, and you hire a new superintendent and you negotiate the same process that I've outlined. I've given you 3 opportunities to clearly put it in writing that they're not meeting what you're asking them to do. The first is the evaluation form, which is related to the job description. The
right,
second is each merit goal that the superintendent would have. If you're saying to the superintendent, we're not paying you for your merit goals because you didn't meet them, and you're blah, 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 that form covers that. Like my point with you is to give you the problem with New Hampshire's situation with superintendents is that they have a lot of problems where superintendents either aren't renewed without having adequate documentation, and then districts get sued,
right,
or they aren't able to justify why they've made the decisions that they've made to give people longer contracts, more money, this, that, or the other. So I just wanted to make sure that what Taryn and I talked about was before the goal money. So this evaluation form was developed before goal money was on the table, a year before.
right.
I'm saying that is conjoined in the sense that if I'm doing my work, if the superintendent is doing a good job, they're probably gonna earn their goal money. And if they're not, then it's probably gonna show up in more than one place.
See, I look at it differently. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I look at it more simplified than that. Your goals have to be within your control.
I agree with that completely, and that's
okay?
why they have to be
They'd be in
separate.
your control.
Well, I
Yeah.
do know,
You can't-
let me interrupt you
Wait,
guys here.
let me just finish my thought, because I wanna make sure I get it across. Board goals are not within your control.
They are not.
Okay, so if a board goal isn't attained because of the board, right, that's beyond your control.
So for example, the board set the goal of selling the seminary building. I cannot control that.
Right.
I can show you the step, I would never set a merit goal of selling the seminary. I can't control that outcome. Am I gonna
But
ask you
things
to?
beyond all of our controls happen.
Exactly.
We want you to be responsible. We're gonna sit down and say, you're in control of doing this.
Right.
You do this, you get this. These over here, they're not within your control, that's the board's control, that's the board's issue. Now, I can't harm you for not doing a goal that is the board's responsibility and control.
You're right, that's it, and that's the difference. So for example, one of the Pam, just so you know where I'm going with this, is the 2 goals that I plan to present to the board this year are the successful move of the middle school to
Yep.
to the high school facility, grades 7 and 8, and the reorganization of the elementary schools. Those are way above and beyond my job description, those are big goals.
Yep.
There are places that hire a project manager to do that work.
Yep.
To run that project. I mean, we have a Gantt chart that Matt developed, it is insane.
It should be 2.
Those are my 2 goals.
Those are 2 project managers there.
2 project
Each
managers.
one
You're right,
is a
Larry.
goal unto itself.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is those are huge goals for the next 10 months. That's what I feel like goals should be. They're a reach. They're a big deal. I think that Pam's was trying to kind of figure out what is the written criteria. How does the board talk to the superintendent about what they want done? And my point is that should happen through the board setting clear goals, which we have, and then conversely, me having my own goals within those goals. And Pete, I think they should be somewhat related, but not necessarily,
absolutely.
not necessarily mutually cojoined in the sense that if I brought forward a proposal to move the middle school and it was gonna cost us $4 million, you guys would be like, no, and then I don't meet my goal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I know that there's a reasonableness factor, but I think the part that's gonna get us hung up is if there's a goal that the board sets that like you said, Pete, I agree completely. If I don't have control of it, I can't earn it, right? I can't control every little minutia thing that goes on.
This is what I was gonna tell you. Seabrook Station, 1990, I think it was, did exactly that. To get our license, that was the company's goal, but they tied it to the workers.
Yeah.
It ended up in court,
Mm-hmm.
and the courts actually said, the workers have no control over that. You can't set that as a goal for
Right.
the workers.
Right,
We got our pay raise.
right.
Well,
Right.
I'm just going to give in and
Well,
say.
don't
I'm
give
just saying,
in.
if you read the original policy, it states, superintendent is responsible for services described. In addition to and related to those responsibilities, the following areas are representative of those in which objectives, who's setting these, may be set and performance appraised. I don't know who's setting the objectives.
Where are you reading that, Pam?
At the very top, before you get to the.
Oh, thank you, yep.
I
And
didn't have
then
any
it
problem
says,
with
then
those.
at the end of the 10, it says, the board may choose not to annually evaluate and review every area listed. So I'm just confused about who sets the objectives or goals. I'm just not clear on that from this document, and I remain unclear on it, so.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that we should have any specific goals in our evaluation. When it says written criteria, the only written criteria we do annually is our board goals. So I thought those were kind of embedded into the entire district goal-setting process and part of the evaluation.
Yeah, and we talked about that they're separate.
But again, objectives, who sets the objectives?
Well, again, I keep saying it, it's in the job description. Did you read the job description from beginning to end?
The RSA
No,
No.
our
No.
adopted job description that the school board adopted last year.
for you,
Remember,
yes,
we
yes.
rewrote the entire
Yeah.
job description when I was hired.
Right, yes.
And we
I
did it
read
based on surveys. It was a lot of work. I mean, we worked hard on that, and I wanted that done right. Because I wanted to be able to sit and sit with you. So for example, when I was working this last year, I specifically focused on this one. There's one about data, the use of data
Right,
to make decisions. I specifically structured that whole public forum around academic data because I felt like I didn't do as good a job on that as I could have. So when I'm doing my work, I'm looking at the criteria in my job description and saying, am I doing the things that I've been asked to do by the school board?
right.
Which is set, I think what you're getting stuck on, Pam, is the difference between goal setting and job descriptions. Expectations, my expectations, I expect that Matt Angel, when he comes to work, knows what his job description expects him to do.
Right,
I expect that Diana Rooney does it, I expect that Phyllis does it, I expect all the principals to do it. So I think that the part that you're getting stuck on is that the goals, objectives, and the criteria is set through my job description. That doesn't mean that I'm not setting above and beyond goals. I am setting above and beyond goals. Like everything I did last year, I print what your school board goals are and I put them right in my office. And I look at them, like how are we doing on that, right? Like I've been working on the seminary nonstop for 3 weeks. It's not my goal, but it's a goal that we're working on. So if I'm not working in conjunction with you, that'd be weird, right? But meeting that goal, there's a lot of mystery to that one.
so on the evaluation form, do you want to send this to the full board or modify it in any way this year? Talking
I
about
think we
this
should leave
one.
it as is.
Yeah, I didn't have any, well, wait a second.
We've added something about student safety on page,
Well, again,
Okay,
this is the superintendent's evaluation. Student safety is the
Yeah.
district's responsibility.
That's a good point.
Okay, I have a question, okay, on this, and I guess it's topic 1. And it says, utilize the strength of the board members to make decision-making process. Utilize the strength of board members in the decision-making process. how do we do that? How do we utilize the strengths?
Well, I think that.
What does that mean?
It means that there are times when I'll call Jim versus Jamie versus Pam versus you, and ask for feedback and opinions, right, Pam?
So
I mean,
so the
that's
people
something
with
that I do a lot
expertise,
of.
you call them, okay.
Yeah, I trust
get
the
that.
board's expertise, and I talk to different people about
No,
different
that's
issues.
fine, I just wasn't
Good
quite
question.
sure what that meant.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, legal issue. It says consult with legal counsel as required by the board. Well, wait a minute, are you telling me that you can only call legal counsel when the board approves that?
No.
Right?
We can't have that.
But that's what it sounds like.
It does sound like that, and that's
Okay,
not at all
so
how that
I put
works.
down, consult with legal counsel as needed concerning, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be as needed,
Yeah.
but,
Like, there was
because
one
otherwise,
today that I called Jim
you
O'Shaughnessy
can't
right
call
away.
legal counsel unless the board says you can do it.
Yeah.
That's the way I read it.
That would be ridiculous.
That-
Sounds
no,
like
we
only
can't.
the board can request
We would
legal
end up
counsel.
in court so fast.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying, Pam?
I agree with that completely, Pete. I didn't even catch
It
that one
sounds to
there.
me like only the board can request legal,
I think one way that you could read that is that if the board asks me to consult with legal counsel, do I do it?
Yes, but
Yes.
that's a different issue. This says consult with legal counsel as requested by the board. Excuse me, you consulted legal counsel, the board didn't request it.
Yeah, that's really
Well, we
weird.
could put as needed or as requested by the board. I mean, in other words, are you responsive to
I just said
board
as
questions
needed.
about legal issues? That's all.
I just put down,
Which I think is kind of how I
I
read
put
it.
down as needed, which is,
Yeah,
he makes a decision, damn, we got a kid that's suing the school, like, you better call the legal counsel. No, I gotta wait and talk to the board about it. We don't have a meeting for 2 months.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
no,
I
that
put
can't,
down as needed, that's what I put down. You
So
wanna,
that sounds good, let's change that.
yeah, so it'll say consults with legal counsel as needed concerning legal issues
Alright.
facing the
Anything
district.
else?
well, yeah, there is, okay. I have under topic training and development. Ensures administrators and teacher training assigns to student academic performance. How the hell would the board know that you've done this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question.
You're gonna ensure the administrators and teacher training aligns with student academic performance goals. How, what, because you told us it did, or because, well,
Well, yeah, like-
you could say, well, there was so much in-service training, that's fine, I was just a question, it was like,
What page are you on, Pete?
I'm on, well, to me it's page 5, but topic 3, training and development.
Yeah, no, so like,
I'm not upset with any of these or anything, it's just like, how the hell would you know how to do that?
no, I actually agree. I hadn't thought of that, but what I would say to that is, so for example, I had Drummond and Woodsum come in this summer and do a training for our,
That's
but
your
it was
answer.
about teacher supervision and evaluation, and it was about student discipline.
Well,
But
That-
those things affect academic performance, but they're not necessarily directly related in terms of the training.
yeah, no,
How about ensures administrator and teacher training, is relevant,
current.
is pertinent and relevant?
Yeah, I mean.
Because I mean, there's too many facets to say that it's just around academic performance goals. We do that, but it's one part.
I just didn't know, so it was a question I had when I read it, so I wrote it down,
Good question. I hadn't thought of that.
So, I don't know, what do you think, you want?
Oh, there's number 4 right there. The data is regularly presented to all stakeholders in understandable forms that demonstrates progress in the academic achievement of students. So if you notice, almost every board meeting, we're having something
Yeah.
about data. That was really important to me because it jumped out. But I think you're right, Pete.
That's why you're here.
Thanks. I think number 3 is really important, that
Well, we're using the word goals again, I don't know where that's coming from.
What's that, I'm sorry?
Well,
We're using the word goals again here, performance goals,
where, under number 4, provides
3,
leadership to the
4,
3 and
principals.
4 both.
3 and 4. I'm sorry, I'm still just confused about where these, are the goals coming from the effluvia? Are they goals that any standard district would pursue?
So this is goals for the superintendent to do this year, make sure he hits that goal.
But what are
Nothing
they,
to
and
do
who's
with-
defining them, EISA? I mean, where are they coming from?
Well, this is no, we decide whether he met the goal, when he says to us, we had in-service training, so-and-so and so-and-so came.
Like, so for example, I would say that,
It's aligning with a specific quantitative goal, I would assume, but I'm not sure.
yeah, but you can't
I don't care
say
about
that.
quantitative goals, I care that he had the goal to make sure, and he gave us an answer that we accept that, yes, he in fact did do.
So for example,
what
we
this
had
says.
Teachers College come this summer, and provide some of the best professional development in the world to our teachers. And, hi,
We get it across the hall?
is it locked?
Sorry for the interruption.
But I can't say that like it raised so-and-so scores X, Y, and Z. Oh, I don't have keys. I'll be right back, guys.
Custodian,
Yep.
I saw them.
Sorry, everyone, I gotta find it.
okay. So why would they think the superintendent would have keys to the schools?
Yes,
To every
he
door of the
does.
school, yeah, sure, yeah. I have 10,000 keys.
I know.
Yeah, just when he needs to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, there's custodians right down there having a break. Anyway, I mean, we can keep it, it's just, I didn't know the answer.
I haven't,
Well, can I, if you don't mind, like, I'd like to get through mine, and then we'll go to yours, if it's all right.
no, that's all right.
All right. Student safety, okay? Provides monthly report to the board on safety committee meetings and their development.
No,
I don't think we even need that, because he gives those reports whenever he has those meetings. And
Another-
besides, they might not even meet every month.
The only reason I added that in, and it was my
Okay,
idea,
Pam, you gotta tell us today your ideas, because I assumed that this was the standard stuff we always went
It was
through.
tabled at our last meeting, and I had a little speech prepared to go through it with the board that night, and I got shut down, so I didn't.
I didn't shut you down,
No,
I
I'm
said,
just saying, I would have gone through my notes at the last meeting about which areas were added to the original form, like student
but
safety.
we need to know they're your ideas, just
I
like.
wasn't able to discuss it at the last meeting
But
because
even
it
if
was
you did it,
tabled.
okay, it shouldn't have been discussed at the meeting until we've discussed it in here.
It's really not a policy committee document, it belongs in personnel, it's not
No,
even a policy.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
no, this does not belong in personnel. We are the policy committee. We are the ones that make up the policy.
I don't have personnel's, committee description, but they oversee and develop the evaluation forms. for-
Providing the policy says they can.
I'll have to
They
check
have
the
to work through
policy,
the policy.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's
They
true.
can't do it on their own.
In any event, I would have discussed this at our meeting.
I understand that, but even if you had discussed it, we have no way of knowing that was your input.
I know, because you're not a mind reader, understand that.
Yeah, I think you're concerned that we're not agreeing with you on a lot, and that is not it.
That's
I'm
not
just
what I
having an
just
open
took out.
conversation.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is, I assume that this was part of the document from years past.
Yeah, well, what happened was when I was hired,
Well, no, I'm not saying that, I'm
Oh.
just saying that there is no way that I can read this document
Oh, I
and
see.
say it was Larry's idea, or my idea, or her idea.
Right.
Because it's written down, so I'm assuming, because there's no notation that, I would like to discuss, like, I've written it in red.
well, the process that I've talked to Pam about in the past is that we come here with the unedited original document.
Yes.
Pam
and
should have
then
her
add-
ideas, Larry should have his, you have yours like you do on yours. We discuss each idea and decide what to change.
Yes.
If you send it out already done, Pam, it is confusing. Like
This
when
is
I read
what-
it today, there was stuff in there that I hadn't seen before too.
I assume this has been an approved document by someone, by
Well,
previous.
that's exactly what I did, because I was trying to find
Right.
the old document.
Right,
Yeah,
the way
you
that.
said where's the old document?
When I ran policy work in my old job, the way that we did it is you receive, if there's a change from the school boards
It's
association,
italicized or something.
it's crossed out and then bolded. But we never, as members, put our thoughts on the shared document because
There
then
we
it got, only the school board association's changes were on the document.
Right.
Everything else is what, we'd handwrite it
Or
like
it'd be a
Pete did.
different color.
Yeah, we'd handwrite it the
The
way
other
Pete
thing,
did.
Pam, is you've done an awful lot of work here
Mm-hmm.
that you may not have had to do, because I look at this, provide monthly reports on the board safety committee.
Well, see, now I look at.
That's an automatic for him, and if you don't do it, then you'll get a gig, and yet they never even had a meeting.
Yeah, monthly, I didn't even catch that it said monthly.
Yeah, it said, and I was wondering.
Regular monthly reports is what it says,
You know,
but not meetings.
I mean, if you know,
Regular meeting.
if you wanna just say,
But that whole-
provide reports, not monthly, I got no problem
Well,
with
I'm
that.
confused now because number 5 on student safety was not even on this document last year.
No, it was not.
Well,
That's,
how did it get there
why,
now?
why isn't it red?
But wait a minute, how did it get there now? Who put it in there?
The personnel committee.
The personnel committee did.
They shouldn't have even, okay, I
That sh-
realize that, but
Pam, what else in this is the new stuff we added?
Not
Personnel,
at the end of the goals.
personnel should be after policy. In other words, we set the policy that there'll be goal settings. Personnel does the goal setting. I see your point. Why are we even looking at it? I'm looking at it because I thought we were looking at whether or not there should be this policy. Yes, there should be. Okay, fine. We're done.
Yeah.
If we don't like what they bring up at the board meeting, then we can discuss this. In a sense, we're doing the work now that we should be doing in the board meeting. You follow me?
Well, the purpose of the policy committee is to review the policy, make recommendations to the board that this group either agrees on or disagrees on. So there are times,
No, I disagree with that.
oh,
The policy committee looks at the policy. Should there be the policy, what is the policy? Yes. If the policy, maybe we are doing it the correct way now.
you are doing it the correct way.
Okay?
Yeah.
The policy committee puts this together. We only say, yes, this is in agreement with the policy. Not, I don't like this, I use that. That, we do that at the board meetings.
Well, there are times where the policy committee has,
So right here on our policy CBI, it says the personnel committee will review and update the form for board approval. It doesn't say the policy committee will review it as well.
Thank you, I agree with you, 100%.
That's why I'm
Okay.
wondering why it's here tonight. But I brought it here because I was
Well, it's
asking.
the other thing that somebody said we're going over it. But the thing is, there's no way anybody can determine whether this is a new policy this year or last year. You know, if it's a new policy this year, I'm gonna pay more attention to it than if it's one that's been looked at for the last 5 years.
well, I just, Pam, I think that my feedback would just be to help everyone along that topic number 5, student safety, and topic number 1 under H need to be put in red for the board. That those are new additions. Because they won't know what,
Right.
they're not gonna take out the old one,
I was
compare it to
going
the
to
new one.
explain to the board, I was gonna point out where
Yeah.
there were 2 changes
Yeah,
that night, but.
but we need, to me, being an ADHD, I need something
Right.
visual. You know, you could say these are changes and I, okay, I'm thinking of, did I split enough wood today for the winter?
No, I should have done it in bold, so you
No,
know.
no, don't.
Yeah, any addition should be in bold when it goes to the board, and
Just
anything
have
taken
so many
out.
colors going on sometimes, I thought, I went with a simple,
Yeah, I mean, for instance, okay, looks like we got okay. Not, okay. Am I correct that this information should be done at the board level, and we should no longer continue?
No, you're not, in the sense that, I understand what you're saying, but the policy committee's job is to do one of 2 things, to review existing policies and any legal changes that might need to happen per feedback from the NHSBA or the lawyers,
Okay.
and then either do one of 2 things, come to consensus and say to the board, we've researched this and we feel like this change should happen, or we discussed this and we couldn't come to agreement, so here are your options, school board, please
Okay,
discuss.
okay.
And that's what we've been doing.
That's what we've been doing the whole time
Okay,
we've
no,
been
that's
here.
fine, I
Yep,
just wanted to
yep.
make sure we
No,
weren't.
I'm glad you
We weren't
asked.
gonna be redundant here.
No, and I think that this is a weird situation because this policy that Pam just read says that the personnel committee reviews this. The reality is that the evaluation is a policy, so you could argue, I don't think anyone's right here. Everyone wants
Yeah.
the same thing.
You know.
We all want an effective evaluation tool. I'm just telling you what I'll tell the whole board. And this is what I'm gonna say. My goals cannot be the school board goals. I will not agree to that. That will be a problem, right? I'll agree to set goals that are merit-based goals. And I certainly didn't have a problem with this form last year, but Pete brought up some really good points that I hadn't noticed. And lastly, I think it's really important to recognize that there is a relationship, a symbiosis between the school board, their goals, and the work of the superintendent, but they aren't always mutual. Sometimes
They don't have to be.
they don't have to be. The board needs to and should be, and Taryn was working on this, and I agreed with it. The board should be surveying the community to get a self-evaluation on their goals. We don't do that, right? And we really should be, because the community needs an opportunity to give the board feedback, and even if it's livid, like, we don't like the reorganization, that's okay,
That's fine.
but we should get the feedback. And that doesn't mean we're not gonna move forward, it just means that we've gotten the feedback.
And we should also put that out to the public.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So
Can
they
we,
know that, okay, we are listening to you and this is what we've got.
Exactly.
and
can we
this is
scratch
what-
monthly? I have no problem with providing reports to public safety. I just know that the safety committee doesn't meet half the
We do
time.
need to scratch monthly because it does meet regularly, but sometimes, like last time we met for 30 minutes, there's nothing to report.
Not only that, but you
Right.
don't even meet during the summer.
No, we don't meet during the
So
summer.
how do
The
you-
board doesn't even meet during the
Right,
summer, so
right.
monthly would be, I didn't catch that, Pete.
Okay.
That's a
Well,
great
even just
point.
to announce, there's a safety task force.
No, provide
Meeting
reports to the
coming up.
board safety committee regarding any
Yes,
other
the
meetings.
point is, we want the public to be cognizant of the fact that we're very aware of school safety, that was the point.
Right, and the superintendent's gonna report on those things,
Right.
just not monthly.
Monthly is micromanaging.
Okay?
It's not reasonable.
Okay.
Regular, we could say regular, but what's regular?
Sure.
But what I would say is, provides reports. Now, if we go 6 months and I
Okay,
don't say
I think, you
anything.
know, no offense meant, but I'm looking at the time.
Okay.
All right, now, articulation and vision, okay, if I may, okay, that's topic one. I got two more things to go over.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, provides reports on progress towards board goals at board meetings. Why is the superintendent providing reports towards the goals toward board goals? Why is the superintendent even involved in that? He shouldn't be reporting to us what's the process of ours. You see what I'm saying? Is this in addition to? Okay. You want the superintendent to report on the progress of the board's goals at board meetings. Why would the superintendent tell the board how they're progressing,
That makes no sense.
right? That's not, he works for us, not the other way around. All right?
That's exactly right, because what you're doing otherwise, we work for you. Tom, you just added 4 more, 6 more, 7 more people to your list.
Right,
Okay,
yeah,
so
no,
these
I
are,
don't need that.
these are included. Like, I got here, forms recommendation for refining board goals. Why is,
He is not responsible for the.
he doesn't form the recommend, we do that, that's the board's job, okay? And the other one that says, is candid about feasibility of goal, what the hell is candid mean?
Well, if we don't have the resources for some specific outcome,
See, this is it, you know what it means,
maybe
but,
there's inflation or whatever, we can't repair something, you know?
but here's the problem, all right? You're in a trial. What does candid mean? Candid, to me, candid means he freely and openly saying, hey, by the way, guys, right? You have a different interpretation. You know, it's the word candid that, it's just like, what the hell does that mean? Hey, everybody, I'm being very candid
All
here.
right, transparent, do you like that one?
Well, no, but is candid about feasibility of goal attainment and works to identify solutions of potential setbacks. I don't even know what that whole thing means. He's candid about the feasibility of goal attainment. He will do that when the goals come out and say, these are your goals.
Well, domain H, first of all, completion of annual board needs to come out of there.
Where's the annual goal?
It's the title, domain H. It needs to be domain H, superintendent goals. Are you on page
The annual
8?
board shouldn't even be there.
Right, exactly.
I could say annual, but take out board. This is your evaluation, not the board's.
Right, that's my point. I agree with that.
And I'll say it this one more time, CBI is the superintendent evaluation and goal setting, was revised last September, a year ago, and it states, the board will evaluate the superintendent based on written criteria established by the board, coextensive with the superintendent evaluation. The board and the superintendent will jointly establish annual goals and objectives.
Yeah, but this,
So, what are we talking about? Just for the superintendent, for the district,
Both.
whose evaluation is
For both?
this? Whose evaluation is this?
the superintendent?
Then why is the board even mentioned? Why are
Because
the
the only
board's goals
written
mentioned?
criteria we have, other than this evaluation form, is our annual goals.
No, we have the
No,
job
Whose
description.
goal?
The job description, Pam.
No, whose goal? This is the superintendent's goals.
Okay, so the
Not
job
the board's.
description would be the only criteria that's relevant, okay, fine.
I wouldn't go that far. I'd take it a little bit, the job description is a major component, and then The board sets goals, and soon, I hope, because we need to do this, I set goals. And that doesn't mean that they're necessarily not related. They might be related, Pam. But they can't necessarily be that the board's goals, what I'm trying to say to you is the board's goals are not the superintendent's goals.
That's correct.
But the superintendent's goals may be related to the board's goals. It's semantics. But it's a big deal because there are some goals when we meet that if you guys said to me, we want this to be your goal, my response will be, then you're gonna have to give me X, Y, and Z if you want that goal met.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And you may say, no, we can't do that. It's not, we're not there yet.
All I'm saying is that this is the evaluation of the superintendent of schools. Nothing about the board should be in here,
Exactly.
okay? So.
Or the district.
Right. Now, okay, so that's the last of that, except though, I would like to look at CBR for 1 second. And it doesn't matter,
You mean CBI?
CBIR.
That
And
is
it's
what
the-
we're
It's the
looking at.
last paragraph,
Oh,
okay? And it really, to me, is having things go in the progression they're supposed to go. Because it starts out, board members will first evaluate the superintendent independently. I think it should be this. First, the board's personnel subcommittee will review and update the form for the board's approval prior to the beginning of the superintendent's evaluation. Because that initiates it.
Yep.
That's number one. Number two, the superintendent's evaluation form will be adopted by the board prior to the beginning of the annual evaluation period. Fine, because that's what you do next,
It's fine.
okay? Number three, and this is kind of like at the beginning until I saw the last part of it. Members of the board will evaluate, not first, will evaluate the superintendent independently using the written form. The superintendent's evaluation form will be adopted by the board prior to the beginning of the annual evaluation period. That's number, okay, I did that, number three. Number four, should the list of annual goals be selected by the board or the superintendent complete, the question of bonus, right? So what I did was I started with, okay, this kicks it off, right? The subcommittee will review it. Two, the super evaluation plan will be adopted. Three, the board members will evaluate it. And four, should the list of annual be selected, okay? And it's just the way it flows. I like everything that's in there, but I'm saying, well, no, first of all,
Well, I
you
just
get.
kind of wanted to make sure the horse was in front of the cart instead of
Yeah, and thank you for that.
behind the
Thank you,
cart.
Pam. Yeah, Pam's point was, and I brought this up at the personnel committee, is I look at this document during the year to make sure that I'm doing the things
sure,
that are in
of
it.
course.
So changing it right before everyone fills it out isn't really,
Isn't good.
isn't good, and Pam agreed with that. Yeah, it's
And we
very
haven't
fair.
really modified that much, we can just pull out what I've added and just go
Okay.
with the one we have, it's fine.
Okay, was this also, I hate to say, was this something also you suggested to be putting in
Yeah,
there?
I'm trying to get things in the right
Okay,
sequence.
no, and that's fine, that's fine, but can you see where I started with, what's the first thing, what's the
No, I'm
second
sure
thing?
you could write it better than I've written it.
No,
I
no,
just-
no, it's not a writing better or otherwise.
Yeah,
It's just that when I looked at it, I thought, well, actually, the first thing we do is, and then the second thing we do, because they're all in there correctly. You know, you do writing, I
I
do.
tried to make it flow, but I may not have
Right,
done that, so.
you write, am I right? I write stories, I write.
write
like,
textbooks.
And you know what, and they've told me this in writers' classes all the time. Your second sentence invariably is your first sentence.
Right, yeah.
That's just your personality, like you do that?
You know,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, I looked at this and I immediately thought of that.
Yeah.
The second thing, is the first thing, you know, it's kind of strange.
Well, if you can have Phyllis make a copy
Hello.
of that page,
Hello.
I'll just use your notes.
I get those calls too.
You need a new mortgage now?
Yeah, it's ridiculous now.
You know what I would like to see, because of all the things, I'm completely confused, I think, and also today helped. I'd like to see this kind of set until we can get a clarified copy of what we've been talking about before we take it to the board.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we
Because
can do it now.
I
So-
would hate to go in and try and,
Pam, why don't you send me the Word documents of what you added in red?
Yeah,
I'll meet with Pete and have him read that whole thing that he just did, cause I didn't get it, it's on the video, but
yeah.
we'll fix that and send it back to you to read, does that sound good?
I'll take out like monthly reports.
Yeah, take out whatever you
and-
can, but can you
Things
put
that
in?
are-
I can give you this, or will Xerox, it's in red.
Right, I'll
Um,
keep it, I won't lose it.
No, it's
No, you
just,
don't
that-
lose
it's just that
anything.
if he and I are then, could you drop this off? Because now I'm out of order here. Could you drop this off at the SAU office so I have it when he and I talk?
And I'll hope to get this ready to get to the board for the next meeting in a way that everyone can read it too. I don't mind helping out a little bit, it's important.
I don't know what.
But I need to know, I got confused, Pam, because I forgot what was new over here.
Yeah.
Can you make those red again?
Yeah.
Cause it would help me to remember.
Sure, yeah.
And can I make a request, I guess is the way I'm gonna put it? When we come up with these policies that we're gonna review, could I have an old copy with the revised copy that we're going to be looking at?
What I would suggest, just a suggestion, do exactly what you're doing, Pam, only put it in red so we'll know those are your changes,
Okay.
all right? And then I will put in red.
This is what I
Well, I did
recommend.
send it in red, I guess you printed it in black and white.
No,
I
but some
did
of this
have-
wasn't in red anymore, remember?
Not
like
in this
the-
guy, but in the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
ones it was.
But, so this is what I'd like.
I don't
because
know if this helps you or not, Pam, but
It-
knock yourself
If
out.
you
Okay,
guys
I'm
can,
gonna
this is the
take
process
these
that would help
together.
me the most as superintendent to guide you. If we have a policy from last year that we're looking at for this year, and the New Hampshire School Boards Association has recommended changes, those go in by putting a line through what's removed by the NHSBA and adding in bold what NHSBA has recommended. Anything else does not get added to the documents. You bring it here in your notes and we discuss it.
I just need
Because
to
when Pam
know,
adds her thoughts, I can't tell what's her thoughts
that's right. That-
versus
that was
what's
my
the
fault.
NHSBA versus what I'm proposing. I need to bring a copy of what did exist, what the NHSBA or a lawyer is asking to change, and then I'll write on that what I think, right? Like you did tonight. But if you've got her thoughts in there already, it can get confusing.
I didn't know what they were her thoughts, I thought that was the
Do you see
original
what he's saying,
policy.
Pam? Like,
Yeah,
that's
I
confusing.
understand. We
Yeah.
just had gone through it in personnel before.
Yep, yep.
So I was trying to clean it up from the personnel meeting instead of having colored, but I can do that for the,
Sure.
instead of narrating it, I'll just show it to people, so it's fine.
Thank you.
Boy, we did a lot tonight. huh?
That's a lot.
No, we
Yeah.
did, but
it's good.
But we prepared the ground, now,
Right,
you know.
Actually, Pam, we did our job tonight.
so I will send you the cleaned up draft.
Yeah, that's fine.
And if you want me to, if you think, okay, it's ready to go for board discussion, given that it's bolded up and you can see what Pam says and what's,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, then we'll just see if you wanna send it to the full board.
I
If you
hope-
wanna have another meeting, that's fine.
I was gonna say, I need to set goals, so could we get this to the board for the next meeting?
I'll meet, you know, look at, if you wanna meet tomorrow, if you wanna meet next week,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And we'll just discuss this.
No, I'll meet with Pete.
No, but what
Pam,
I'm
send it to
saying
me
is-
cleaned up, I'll run it by
Alright.
Pete and then we'll let you know.
Well,
Okay.
no, you can't just run it by me.
No, I'm gonna, the part that you wrote that nice paragraph that
Well,
had all the
what-
steps.
What about his input?
No,
I kinda
he'll-
shut him down.
We'll read it we'll send it to Larry too. But I
Okay,
wanna
okay,
make sure that,
whatever you're
once
comfortable.
you read it, if you say, yeah, that's what I meant,
Yeah.
then we'll send it to you for feedback.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can do that
and we
without
can have
having
it
a
ready for the
meeting.
next meeting.
Okay,
okay,
And then we can sit there and say, okay, fine, go.
Yep.
And
yeah, I just wanna I know what I think the goals are gonna be for this year, and I don't anticipate that the board will have a problem with them, but I wanna get it done so it's clear. Cause I mean, it's already October and I'm working on these goals as if, I'm assuming that you guys are gonna be fine, but I don't wanna,
Not me.
you know what that does, yeah, right. You always surprise me.
I need to speak at you.
Yeah, not at
so
me,
move
with
to
me.
adjourn,
Yeah,
So moved.
second, okay,
Yep.
thank you.